Hi, Doug Stworski for the US Access Institute LLC. Today we look at one specific element in our lesson series called Accessibility by the Element. That's where we take a quick look at the accessibility requirements and one specific element. We also do a comparison of the different ADA and state access codes and standards. We try to cover it from coast to coast. Remember, our goal is eliminating the confusion and access compliance. So check us out at www.usaccessinstitute.com. All right, here we go. First, we start with the periodic table of accessible elements. It's not a real table in the access standard sense of things, but hey, we want access to be fun. Then we drove down to section 502, and that covers accessible parking space requirements. The 2010 ADA standards for accessible design in section 505.2, vehicle spaces, says van parking spaces shall be 132 inches wide minimum. That's 11 feet. There's no mention of the minimum length of the van accessible parking spaces, so let's do a quick review of some of the accessibility standards across the U.S. This figure is from the 2010 ADA standards for accessible design and shows the van accessible parking spaces. They're 132 inches wide, but it does not mention the length. It is exactly the same requirement in the 2010 Texas accessibility standards. In the ICC A117.1, we have the same 132 inches with no mention of length, and this is the same in the 2020 Building Code of New York State. The Fair Housing Design Act uses the ANSI A117.1, the 2003 standard, as a safe harbor, and the 132 inches is valid here with no mention of length again. In the 2020 Florida Building Code on Accessibility, the width of the van space is also 132 inches and no mention of length. The Illinois Accessibility Code has the same 132 inches or 11 feet if a 5-foot access aisle is provided. If a 96-inch access aisle is provided, the van accessible space may be reduced in width to 96 inches or 8 feet wide. All the other standards also provide that if we provide the 8-foot wide access aisle, we are allowed an 8-foot wide van parking space. However, in the 2022 California Building Code, section 11B 502.2 states that van parking spaces shall be 144 inches wide, which is 12 feet, and that is with a 5-foot wide access aisle. And now we actually have a standard that actually addresses the length. It states that car parking spaces shall be 216 inches long minimum, and that's 18 feet. The space may be reduced as in the other standards if the access aisle is increased to the 96 inches or 8 feet. Then the van space may be 108 inches wide or 8 feet. So we have seen that California is unique in that it requires a minimum length in accessible parking spaces and is wider than all the other standards. All the other standards, such as the Florida Building Code accessibility provisions, have no length requirement, and they all offer a narrower van space if the access aisle width is increased. The length of a van accessible parking space, such as these in Texas, are then required to be just as long as the regular parking spaces. Thanks for watching, and remember that here at the US Access Institute LLC, our goal is eliminating the confusion and access compliance. So check us out at www.usaccessinstitute.com.